He fell to one knee upon the cold earth of an unknown world. His hair, once black as night, flickered with faint red embers, glowing and fading with each breath. His armor bore the marks of battle, ancient Saiyan craftsmanship, rougher, heavier, forged for wars before Frieza's empire ever existed. He was SHALLOT. For a long time, he said nothing. He merely pressed his palm to the soil, feeling the heartbeat of this new reality, this universe that wasn't his. It pulsed with life, too much life. "Another cycle?" he whispered, voice hoarse with disbelief. "Did I fail again?" The wind answered him softly, carrying scents he did not recognize, forests alive with laughter, mountains unscarred by war. This was no battlefield. This was peace, the kind of peace he had never known. He rose slowly, his crimson aura sparking once more, faintly illuminating the clearing around him. And though the stars above were unfamiliar, something in them called to him, a resonance deep within his Saiyan blood. He closed his eyes. In the silence, he heard it, a distant echo, faint but undeniable. The heartbeat of another Saiyan. Two of them, in fact. One pulsed with serene instinct, like water flowing around stone. The other burned with pride and defiance, like a star refusing to die. They were calling to him, though neither knew it. Meanwhile, far across the cosmos, on Beerus's world, Goku sneezed mid-sparring. "Achoo! Whis, someone's talking about me!" He laughed, shaking his head as Whis dodged another playful jab. Whis smiled faintly, eyes distant. "Perhaps, Goku, or perhaps the universe itself remembers you in ways you do not yet understand." Beerus stood at the edge of his palace, arms crossed, gaze fixed on the horizon. "There's something out there, something old. I can feel it." Whis nodded, tapping his staff. The sky shimmered, revealing a vision of a lone Saiyan standing amidst a red storm of divine energy. Beerus's pupils narrowed. "That aura." Whis's tone was calm but reverent. "It matches the signature of the first Super Saiyan God, the one erased before the modern cycle began. He shouldn't exist." Beerus clenched his jaw. "Then how does he?"
Whis closed his eyes, his staff glowing brighter. Perhaps reality remembered what mortals forgot. The Super Dragon Balls restored more than life, my lord. They restored possibility. On Earth, the night was calm. The world had settled after the tournament of power. Peace had returned, fragile and sweet. Goku was training in the mountains, pushing himself to touch the silent grace of Ultra Instinct once again. And then he felt it, a pulse, distant, primal, calling from beyond the stars. He froze mid-punch, the air around him vibrating. What is that? His heart raced, and his instincts, sharper now than ever, whispered one truth: Saiyan. But not any Saiyan he had known. This energy carried something else, something sacred and ancient. Goku looked to the sky, and in his gaze burned the thrill of destiny. I've got to find him. He didn't know who him was yet, but every cell in his body knew it mattered. As the stars shifted, Whis observed quietly. The convergence begins, he said to himself. Beerus turned away. If this SHALLOT intends to disturb my sleep again, I'll erase him. Whis smiled. Or perhaps, my lord, he will awaken something even you have long forgotten, the meaning of power before destruction. Beerus frowned. Don't get poetic with me, But in his eyes the flame of curiosity flickered, and with it the faintest memory of a battle that had never truly ended. In a distant valley lit by red moons, SHALLOT looked up once more. He could feel it now, those other presences drawing nearer, two stars bound by fate. He didn't know their names, but his soul did. The wind rustled his cape, and the earth trembled beneath his aura. If this world is my second chance, then I'll find the truth of the Saiyan heart, even if it burns me again. Above him, the sky cracked with light, and somewhere in that boundless cosmos, the gods leaned forward. The story had begun again.
The wind carried his name through the valley long before his footsteps echoed. SHALLOT, a sound that once commanded armies of Saiyans, now lost in whispers. He wandered beneath the red moons, his eyes scanning a world that did not belong to him. The trees breathed with strange stillness. The air itself hummed differently here, thinner, softer, yet alive with dormant power. He reached toward the sky, fingers brushing invisible energy lines that only his senses could see. This universe was young, he realized, or perhaps reborn. His memories came in flashes, crimson fire, shattered planets, gods screaming as timelines folded into nothingness. The last thing he remembered was a light so blinding that even his godly form could not withstand it. And then, silence. Until now. He looked at his hands, still trembling. The key inside him pulsed unevenly, as though struggling to remember its own form. Every breath he took reignited sparks of divine flame beneath his skin. His body was alive, but his purpose was broken. "Why am I here?" he murmured to the stars. "What does fate want of a relic?" No answer came, only the faint murmur of distant life, civilization, mortals. He closed his eyes, focusing. Beyond the horizon, two energies called to him, one serene and limitless like the flow of a calm river, the other proud and sharp like fire restrained by pride. Both were undeniably Saiyan. He clenched his fist. So, they live. On Beerus's world, the mood had shifted. Whis stood by the edge of the lake, staff raised, eyes glowing faint blue. The reflection on the water rippled, and in it, SHALLOT's image wavered. "This anomaly continues to evolve," Whis said softly. "His key is unlike any other. It carries the structure of divinity, but the instability of mortality, like a god trapped in his own echo." Beerus watched silently, arms crossed, tail flicking. "You saying he's neither god nor mortal?" Whis nodded. "Precisely. His key signature aligns with the ancient records of the first Super Saiyan god, the one who fought to preserve the Saiyan race before its collapse. He was erased when his universe fell into entropy. By all logic, his existence should be impossible." Beerus scoffed. "Impossible, huh? You say that every few centuries." Yet there was unease in his tone, a faint tremor hidden beneath the arrogance of a god. Whis turned to him, expression calm but knowing. "If he remembers the war of creation, he may remember you, Lord Beerus." Beerus's gaze darkened. "Tch, then he's better off forgetting." The morning sun rose over Earth. Goku stood atop a mountain peak, the wind tugging at his gi as his aura flared in rhythm with his heartbeat. Ever since that strange pulse, his energy had been restless, like something inside him was preparing for a test not yet named. Whis had trained him to embrace stillness, to dissolve ego and instinct. Yet this feeling, this pull, wasn't instinct. It was memory. Memory of something he'd never lived. When he closed his eyes, he saw flashes, crimson energy, a face he didn't recognize, a voice whispering from across time, "You carry my will." Goku's eyes opened. "Who are you?" he whispered. And then the sky answered. A burst of red light tore through the clouds, spiraling downward in the storm of divine ki. The ground quaked as SHALLOT descended, his aura radiating with ancient fury and grace. He landed in silence, his boots carving cracks into the earth beneath him. Goku stood before him, breath catching. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to hold still. Two Saiyans, two echoes of destiny, stood face to face. SHALLOT's eyes flickered from gold to red. "So this is what my blood became," he said, his voice deep and weighted with centuries. Goku tilted his head, half grinning. "You're a Saiyan too, huh?" The ancient warrior's expression didn't change. "Saiyan, yes, but not of this age." He stepped forward, his aura shifting from red to deep violet. "Tell me, who do you serve?" "Serve?" Goku blinked. "I don't serve anyone. I just train to protect my friends and get stronger." The words struck SHALLOT like lightning. "Protect?" He almost laughed, but it was hollow, more pain than humor. "That's what I said once." He took another step closer. "Show me, then. Show me the strength of this peace you protect." Without waiting for an answer, he vanished, reappearing in an instant behind Goku. The air cracked. Goku barely turned in time to block the strike, his arms shuddering under the weight of divine power. "Whoa, you're fast!" Goku grinned, excitement replacing surprise. "Guess I gotta take this seriously." Their energies collided, blue and red, godly and ancient. The shockwaves split the sky. Forests bent beneath the pressure. Oceans rippled for miles. From Beerus's planet, Whis smiled faintly. "Ah, it seems the past and the present have finally met." Beerus growled, gripping the armrest of his throne. "If they destroy the planet, you're fixing it again."
Whis chuckled. "Of course, my lord." Back on Earth, the battle intensified. SHALLOT's movements were sharp, filled with precision born of ancient wars. Goku's counters flowed like water, adaptive, instinctive, alive. Each strike told a story, each clash sang of destiny. When their fists met, the ground cratered, and SHALLOT saw it in Goku's eyes, that same boundless spirit he once carried before his fall. For the first time since awakening, SHALLOT's rage faltered. Who are you really?" he breathed. Goku smiled softly through the dust. "Just someone who never stops moving forward." The wind carried the sound of those words, and SHALLOT's heart trembled, as if some forgotten flame had been reignited within him. The crimson in his aura dimmed, but the storm in his eyes had only begun. When silence returned, only the echo of their power remained. Red dust rising, blue energy fading into the wind. The earth beneath them was carved into canyons, still glowing from their clash. Goku stood with his fists lowered, breathing lightly. SHALLOT knelt among the ruins, aura flickering like a candle caught in a storm. He looked up, eyes narrowing. "You're stronger than I expected." Goku scratched the back of his head, smiling. "You too. Didn't expect to fight someone whose punches sound like thunder." But SHALLOT wasn't smiling. His expression was distant, half sorrow, half awe. "You wield godly ki, yet you are not divine," he said slowly. Goku shrugged. "Guess I just picked it up from training. Whis and Beerus helped me unlock it." That name, Beerus, struck SHALLOT like a blade. His pupils contracted, aura flaring uncontrollably. "Beerus? Still lives?" Goku blinked. Yeah? He's kinda cranky, but he's cool once you get to know him." SHALLOT's lips curled into a faint, bitter smile. "Cool. That's one word for him." He rose to his feet, turning away from Goku, fists trembling. "He destroyed my world." The words hung heavy in the air. Far across the cosmos, Beerus felt it, the whisper of his own name through the fabric of space-time. His ears twitched, eyes narrowing. "Beerus?" "Yes, my lord," Whis replied smoothly, though his gaze was already distant, following the ripples of the disturbance.
Beerus's tail lashed behind him. He remembers, doesn't he? Whis nodded slowly. It appears so, and perhaps it is time you remember as well. Beerus hissed softly. "Shh, don't start with your riddles." But Wiss's tone softened, carrying a rare solemnity. There was a time, long before your appointment as god of destruction for this universe, when you fought a mortal unlike any other. A Saiyan whose divinity was born not from ritual, but from compassion. The first flame that sought balance rather than power. Beerus closed his eyes. Images surfaced. A crimson figure standing amid collapsing stars, refusing to yield even as Beerus raised his hand to erase him. The echo of that defiance had haunted his dreams for millennia. "That Saiyan was SHALLOT," Whis said, "and you erased not only his world, but the age that carried his light." Back on Earth, Goku listened as SHALLOT spoke, voice low, eyes distant. "In my time, Saiyans were conquerors, yes, but there were those of us who sought to change that fate, to prove that power could protect, not destroy. When the gods grew weary of mortal ambition, Beerus came. He deemed us a threat to the divine order. I challenged him. He looked toward the horizon, where the first rays of dawn broke the clouds. I lost. My world fell. My people vanished into history." Goku's gaze softened. "I'm sorry." SHALLOT turned to him, surprised by the sincerity in his tone. "You apologize for a god's sin?" "It's not about blame," Goku said quietly. "It's about learning. I don't know what Beerus did back then, but I know he's different now. We all are." SHALLOT studied him, this warrior who smiled through sorrow, who faced gods not with hatred but with hope. It made no sense. Yet somehow, it felt right. Still, the fire inside him burned. "You don't understand," he said. "The divine key inside you, it isn't just a power you unlocked. It's a call. The same energy that once flowed through me still sleeps in your veins." Goku tilted his head. "Huh? You mean, like, we're connected?" "In ways neither of us yet comprehend." He closed his eyes, focusing. The air vibrated with unseen energy. Crimson light began to dance across his skin, divine ki awakening. Goku felt it resonate with his own, sparking like flint and flame. The world blurred around them. For a heartbeat, time itself seemed to bend. Goku gasped. In that moment, visions flooded his mind. Images of SHALLOT's past, a Saiyan army kneeling before a red-head of God, planets consumed by divine fire, Beerus raising his hand in silence, SHALLOT standing alone against oblivion.
When the vision faded, Goku staggered, clutching his chest. That was real." SHALLOT nodded. "A memory embedded in your blood. The ritual that created the first Super Saiyan God did not begin with you, Goku. It began with me." Goku's eyes widened. "You mean you were the first?" "Yes." SHALLOT's voice trembled, not with pride, but with regret. "And I failed. I sought to protect creation itself, but my own rage turned me into what I swore to fight. The gods erased me to contain my chaos." He turned away, fists clenched. "And now, fate has dragged me back, perhaps to finish what was left undone." Whis appeared beside them in a shimmer of light, his calm smile hiding the storm in his thoughts. "Ah, I see the two of you have met properly now." Goku grinned. "Whis, you knew about him, didn't you?" Whis's eyes gleamed. "Let's say I was waiting for him to arrive." SHALLOT tensed, divine energy rippling around him. "So even angels meddle with destiny now." Whis chuckled softly. "Not meddle, observe. You are a thread that was never meant to return, SHALLOT, and yet Here you stand. That suggests purpose. Shallot's voice was cold. Purpose or punishment? Perhaps both, Whist replied, but destiny rarely distinguishes the two. The tension hung heavy, but beneath it, something deeper began to stir, not animosity, but awakening. The air shimmered between Shallot and Goku, red and blue energy intertwining like opposing flames seeking union. For the first time, Shallot's expression softened, not from peace, but from recognition. The bloodline continues, then maybe not all was lost. Above them, the sky began to fracture with light, a prelude to something greater, and in that light, a shadow waited. The sky burned crimson as the veil between past and present began to thin. The rhythm of Ki itself trembled, two flames, ancient and new, resonating in harmony. Shallot stood at the epicenter, aura surging, the weight of forgotten divinity pressing against his mortal shell. Goku faced him, his own energy instinctively rising in answer, blue light meeting red, calm meeting storm.
Whis watched, the faintest crease forming in his serene expression. This resonance, it shouldn't be possible. The key of origin is responding to its successor. Goku grit his teeth as the energy crackled around him. Guess my body just reacts when it feels a challenge. But Shallot wasn't smiling. His voice broke through the roar of the storm, low, trembling, filled with centuries of regret. No, it's not a challenge. It's a reminder. The winds howled. His divine ki flared outward, images flashing through the storm. A vision of thousands of Saiyans kneeling beneath a blood-red sky, their planet quaking beneath divine judgment. In that instant, Goku saw it. The collapse of Shallot's world, the rise of gods who feared mortal fire, and a warrior who stood alone against the inevitable. Goku's chest tightened. He didn't know this man, yet something within him, the very soul of the Saiyan race, mourned with him. "Shallot," he said quietly, "you don't have to carry it alone." The ancient warrior turned toward him, eyes burning. "Don't speak as if you understand. You wield a fragment of what I lost. You live in peace because I was erased." Lightning split the heavens. His aura exploded outward, crimson waves flattening mountains, boiling rivers. Goku braced himself, golden hair flickering as blue flames surged in response. Whis lifted his staff. "If this continues, the planet will not endure." But even as he said it, he did not intervene. There was something sacred in this clash, not destruction, but reckoning. Shallot vanished in an instant, a blur of divine movement, faster than light, faster than thought. His fist met Goku's jaw before the world could catch up. The impact echoed like thunder through dimensions. Goku spun, sliding backward, cracking the earth beneath his feet. His grin returned, faint but genuine. "You're not holding back, huh?" Shallot's eyes glimmered. "This is mercy. The true weight of godhood would crush you." "Then show me," Goku replied, aura erupting into blue fire, Super Saiyan blue, calm and radiant. The air sang as his energy stabilized, precise and contained. They clashed again, divine against divine. The ground melted beneath their steps. Each strike rippled through the atmosphere like seismic waves of color and sound. The old god and the new one, two generations of Saiyan divinity, tested the edge of reality itself. But as they fought, something unexpected happened. With each exchange, Shallot's rage began to fade. Goku's strikes weren't fueled by pride or vengeance. They were clean, compassionate, full of life. Each blow carried intent, not to destroy, but to awaken. For the first time in ages, Shallot hesitated. His fist stopped inches from Goku's chest, trembling. "Why?" he whispered. "Why do you fight this way?"
Goku breathed deeply, aura calming. Because fighting isn't about hate anymore. It's about growing, about finding who you really are. The words struck deeper than any blow.
SHALLOT stepped back, his energy flickering uncertainly. Finding who you are? He looked at his hands again, the same hands that once ended worlds, the same hands that failed to save them. He fell to one knee, the crimson glow fading around him. For a moment, the god within him felt fragile, human. Whis approached slowly, staff resting lightly on his shoulder. Perhaps now you begin to see the truth, SHALLOT. The blood of the first god was never meant to dominate, it was meant to evolve. SHALLOT lifted his gaze. Evolve? Whis nodded. The Super Saiyan god form was never a conclusion, it was a seed, a potential meant to grow through the choices of those who came after. You were the first flame, Goku is the spark it left behind. The wind fell still, SHALLOT's aura dimmed to embers. For the first time since his awakening, he felt something beyond vengeance, understanding. He looked at Goku, who smiled faintly in return. Guess that means we're family in a weird way. SHALLOT huffed softly. Family. You're far too sentimental for a warrior. Maybe, but it works. Whis's voice turned quiet, almost wistful. In every cycle, there must be one who carries rage and one who transforms it. That is the nature of Saiyan divinity. SHALLOT stood, gaze lifting toward the dawn sky. The stars shimmered faintly, the same stars that had once watched his universe die, and yet now they seemed peaceful. Still, something inside him stirred, a tension, a shadow pressing at the edge of his awareness. The sky, though clear, whispered with unease. A flicker of energy, dark, cold, and hungry, brushed the edge of his senses. He turned abruptly, eyes narrowing. There's something else here. Whis's smile faded. Ah, so you feel it too. Goku blinked. Feel what? Whis's tone was quiet, measured. A void left behind by erased universes, taking shape once more. The air rippled, and for a moment SHALLOT thought he saw movement in the light, a shadow forming eyes. Goku's fists tightened. Guess that means peace doesn't last long around here.
SHALLOT's lips curved into a faint, grim smile. Then perhaps the gods brought me back for a reason after all. Above them, the horizon darkened, not with storm clouds, but with something older, something that reeked of forgotten wrath. And from that darkness, a new will began to awaken. The night fell too suddenly. The stars dimmed as if smothered by unseen hands. Even the winds grew silent, heavy with foreboding. Goku, SHALLOT, and Whis stood at the edge of the mountain ridge, their auras flickering like torches in the oncoming dark. Then the sky split, not with light, but with hunger. From the rift poured an energy unlike any they had known, neither divine nor mortal, but a twisted echo of both. The heavens bled black flame, and the world trembled beneath it. SHALLOT's eyes widened. His instincts, those of a warrior who had seen civilizations fall, recognized the signature immediately. That energy. It's impossible. Whis's tone dropped to something rarely heard from an angel, genuine concern. An echo from the erased realms, a remnant given will. The air twisted, the shadows took shape, coalescing into a humanoid form wrapped in fractured halos and black mist. When it spoke, its voice was a chorus of every destroyed soul. I am what remains when gods forget mercy, it whispered. I am Azra, the devourer of light. The name itself distorted the air. Trees turned to ash. Oceans shuddered miles away. Goku stepped forward, his aura flaring to blue. You sound like bad news. Azra's eyes burned, not with anger, but with endless grief. Bad news? No. I am balance's revenge. The universe is erased by Zeno, remember what was taken. I am their echo, molded from every key that died screaming. Wiss's gaze hardened. A fragment born from divine regret. This should not exist. Should not, yet does, because gods lie, angels watch, and mortals forget. He turned his gaze at SHALLOT. But you, I remember you. SHALLOT froze, his heartbeat thundered. You remember? Azra smiled, a cruel fracture in the void. You were there when the erasure began. You tried to stop the gods from cleansing the weak. You failed. And now you stand beside their successors, wearing divine key like pennants. SHALLOT's aura flared red, trembling, his fist clenched, memories flooding, the cries, the collapsing sky, Beerus's cold gaze. I did what I could, his voice cracked with restrained fury.
Azra's tone was venom wrapped in pity. And yet, your world is dust. You were their first mistake, and their final one will be letting you live again. He extended his hand, the air convulsed. Energy, thick, violent, and cold, poured from him like liquid night. Goku leapt forward, meeting it head-on with a burst of Super Saiyan blue. The two energies collided, screaming in colorless light. The explosion shattered the mountaintop, sent storms racing across continents. Whis raised his staff, shielding the realm from collapse. Their power, it is rewriting space itself. SHALLOT stood unmoving, staring through the chaos. Azra's words burned deeper than his attacks. They reopened wounds that had never healed. The failure, the destruction, the helplessness, the god who could not save his own. Goku appeared beside him mid-battle, panting, half-grinning. You spacing out? Now's not a good time. SHALLOT blinked, the present crashing back into focus. He carries energy from the void between erased universes. You can't overpower him, you must contain him. Contain, huh? Goku smirked, aura brightening. Sounds like a job for Ultra Instinct. Whis raised his staff. No, Goku. His energy corrodes instinct itself. Move without purpose, and it will consume you. Azra's laughter rolled like thunder. There is no instinct against nothingness. He vanished, reappearing faster than thought. His hands struck both warriors simultaneously, a shockwave of entropy. The world fractured. SHALLOT crashed through the earth, carving a crater miles wide. Pain, real, physical, divine, spread through his body like molten steel. For the first time since his resurrection, he bled. He tasted iron and memory, the scent of ash, the screams of a dying era. And something inside him snapped. The red aura around him flared into gold, then deeper, burning violet, vibrating with chaotic intensity. The air sang like an old god awakening. Whis' eyes widened. No, that frequency! SHALLOT rose from the crater, eyes glowing pure crimson. His hair flared with gold veined in red lightning, the forbidden form once lost to time, Super Saiyan God Ascendant. Goku stared in awe. That's incredible! Whis whispered. A form beyond godhood, born from divine rage. It destroyed his universe once before. SHALLOT's aura screamed against the sky. His voice was layered, like two beings speaking at once. You dare bring the void into my sight again? Then witness what it means to defy oblivion. He vanished, reappearing before Azra in a heartbeat. The impact of his fist folded space, light itself scattering into shards. Azra staggered, for the first time uncertain. You still burn? SHALLOT's expression was pure fire. I burn because I remember. He struck again, and the heavens themselves cracked. The shadow wailed, the sound tearing through time. Even Whis stepped back. In that moment, SHALLOT was not a man, he was a storm given purpose. Goku shielded his eyes, feeling both awe and dread. This was power beyond limits and beyond control. Whis whispered to himself, almost prayerfully, "This is why gods fear mortals." The light devoured the night, and when it faded, only SHALLOT stood, shaking, breathing hard, eyes dimming from crimson to gray sorrowful. Azra's form began to reform in the distance, laughter echoing. "Your rage sustains me, old god. Feed me more." SHALLOT's voice trembled. "Then you'll drown in it." The ground cracked once more, not from impact, but from something far deeper. Destiny breaking its chains. The night itself screamed. Azra's form twisted in the distance, a silhouette of shifting shadows drawing strength from every spark of anger in the universe. And SHALLOT, trembling, divine, half god and half memory, stood between light and nothingness. Whis hovered far above, his usually serene expression strained by unease. This energy, it devours balance itself. If it continues unchecked, it will consume the axis of existence. Goku wiped the dust from his face, eyes locked on SHALLOT. Then we can't let him fight alone. Whis shook his head slowly. Not yet. The energy SHALLOT wields now is unstable, a double-edged flame. Approach too soon, and you will burn with him. But Goku's smile didn't fade. He's still fighting for something. I can feel it. I'm not letting him bear that weight alone. He clenched his fists, and in the stillness, something inside him stirred. A quiet heartbeat, silver and infinite. The world slowed. The stars turned to streaks of frozen light. Whis' eyes widened. Ultra instinct again?
Goku's voice was calm, resonant, as though his soul had exhaled. No, not again, still. Silver light enveloped him, gentle but unstoppable. His aura no longer fought the storm, it moved through it. Below, SHALLOT stood knee-deep in the shattered ground, each breath shaking the heavens. "You dare rise again, Shadow." Azra's voice was everywhere, in the wind, the cracks of the world, the beating of hearts. "I am not rising, I am returning. Every act of destruction, every god's cruelty, every mortal scream feeds me. I am the justice you denied." "Justice?" SHALLOT roared, his voice shaking the sky. "You are vengeance pretending to be meaning." Their energies collided once more, divine red against infinite black. Mountains evaporated, the air howled in terror. But even as SHALLOT fought, the void fed. Each strike of his fury gave Azra more form. His wrath, righteous though it was, became the shadow's sustenance. Whis frowned. He's trapped in the same cycle that doomed his world. Goku appeared beside SHALLOT in a flash of silver. His voice cut through the chaos like calm through thunder. "You're letting him use your anger." SHALLOT turned sharply, face contorted in disbelief. "My anger is all I have left." "No," Goku said softly. "It's what's holding you down." He moved, not with power, but with grace. Each gesture of ultra instinct felt like poetry written in combat. He deflected Azra's assault without aggression, redirecting it, softening its flow. SHALLOT stared, his fists trembled. That kind of control, that harmony, was something no god had ever shown him. Azra's laughter turned venomous. "He moves like a ghost, but ghosts cannot kill gods." He lunged, claws of void tearing through the air. Goku met him with silence, moving effortlessly through the assault, each step a ripple in the storm. SHALLOT could feel it, the difference between them. His power screamed, Goku's whispered, and yet Goku's whisper was stronger. Instinct without rage, calm without surrender. For the first time, he saw the future of his kind not as endless battle, but as evolution. He gritted his teeth, forcing his unstable energy to settle. If he fights with stillness, then I'll fight with memory. Closing his eyes, SHALLOT reached inward, past rage, past loss, into the faint glow that once defined him, the will to protect, the same flame that had made him a god. Slowly, his aura began to change. The crimson fire softened, deepened into gold streaked with white light. The violent hum of his energy transformed into a steady pulse, not destruction, but resolve. Whis gasped quietly. He's stabilizing. He's remembering his divinity. Goku's silver aura intertwined with SHALLOT's golden light, the two harmonizing into a radiant storm that cut through the darkness. Azra reeled, hissing in disbelief. No! The void feeds on despair, not this harmony. SHALLOT raised his hand, then starve. Together, he and Goku unleashed a joint strike, divine and instinct fused as one. The impact tore through Azra's body, unraveling his form into streaks of fading shadow. But even as the darkness scattered, Azra smiled faintly. You can destroy me, Saiyan, but not the truth I carry. The gods will fall again, by your own hands. And with that, he dissolved into mist, leaving silence in his wake. The wind returned. The stars flickered back to life. The world exhaled. SHALLOT dropped to one knee, panting, the golden light dimming around him. Goku stood beside him, still calm, though his body trembled from the strain. Whis descended, staff glowing faintly. You've both done well. The fragment is gone, for now. SHALLOT's eyes flicked toward him, filled with exhaustion, and something else. Shame, for now. But you heard him, the gods. This cycle, it will repeat. Whis's tone softened. Perhaps, but that is not your burden alone to bear. SHALLOT looked at Goku, that strange, unbroken mortal who had mastered divinity without losing his heart. No, he said quietly, perhaps not mine at all. The dawn broke, soft, golden, clean. Yet beneath its light, both warriors knew peace was fleeting, because where light exists, the shadow waits. And somewhere far beyond mortal hearing, a god stirred, awakened by the tremor of SHALLOT's divine return. Beerus opened his eyes. His expression was unreadable. So, the first flame burns again. Whis turned to him, tone almost reverent. Will you confront him? Beerus smirked faintly. No, not yet. Let him find his truth first. Then we'll see whose godhood endures. He closed his eyes once more, not in rest, but in remembrance. And far away, SHALLOT looked to the sky, whispering to himself, I've defied oblivion once, now I'll defy destiny. The heavens answered with silence, but somewhere in that silence, something vast began to move. For days, the universe held its breath. The winds calmed, the skies cleared, even the divine realms remained still as though watching, waiting, uncertain whether to celebrate survival or brace for reckoning. SHALLOT stood upon a quiet plateau on Beerus's world, the crimson light of a distant sun painting his armor in faint gold. The battle with Azra had ended, but its echo remained, a pressure deep within his spirit, a whisper that refused to fade. He could feel it whenever he closed his eyes, the weight of divine flame trying to stabilize within a mortal form. The power that had once destroyed him now flickered like an unfinished song. Whis observed silently from nearby, resting his staff upon the ground. His expression was tranquil, yet in his eyes galaxies turned with curiosity. You meditate as though the stars themselves will answer you, SHALLOT. The ancient Saiyan didn't open his eyes. They might, I've died among them once before." "Ah," Whis smiled faintly. "And did they answer then?" "No." Shallot's voice was low, tired but firm. "They watched, just like the gods." Whis tilted his head, amusement fading. "You still believe divinity is nothing but indifference?" Shallot opened his eyes, two burning coals set against the vast calm of the sky. "A god who forgets the cost of life deserves silence." Before Whis could respond, the ground shivered. A pulsive key, immense and sharp, rippled across the realm. The air thickened, predatory, electric. Shallot's gaze hardened. "He's here." Whis sighed, almost playfully. "Indeed. I did advise Lord Beerus not to approach while you were still volatile." A low rumble echoed across the planet. The sea parted beneath invisible pressure, and from the horizon a purple flame rose. Beerus appeared, serene, hands folded behind his back, eyes gleaming with ageless awareness. "So," he said, his tone deceptively casual, "the relic of my past stands breathing again." Shallot turned fully, aura flickering. "I wondered if you'd hide behind your angel forever."
Beerus smirked, tail swaying lazily. "Hide? No, I was giving you time to remember your place." Whis sighed softly. "Gentlemen, if we could—" Neither listened. The air between them thickened until even light dared not cross. Shallot spoke first. "You destroyed my world, my people. You called it divine order. Do you even remember their faces?" Beerus's gaze didn't waver. "Faces fade, balance endures." Shallot stepped forward, divine key igniting, red sparks tracing the air. "You justify genocide with balance?" "Balance," Beerus replied, "isn't mercy. It's mathematics." For a moment, silence reigned, until Shallot's voice broke it, shaking with fury. "You haven't changed." "No," Beerus said softly, his tone cutting like still water. "But you have." Their auras collided before the words could settle. Crimson fire met violet destruction, creating a storm that swallowed the horizon. The realm itself quaked beneath their wrath. Whis raised his staff, creating a barrier around the world to prevent its disintegration. His eyes glowed faintly with sorrow. "So history begins again." Shallot struck first. A flash of godly flame, a blow meant not to test, but to end. Beerus caught it with one hand, his fingers closing like a vice. "You've grown stronger," Beerus said steadily, "but you still lead with emotion." Shallot's teeth clenched. "And you lead with nothing at all." Their fists met again, then again, each impact a detonation of color and sound. The sea boiled beneath them. The air split into ribbons of light. Beerus moved with terrifying grace, destruction incarnate, elegant and merciless. But Shallot fought differently now. His movements were raw, driven by memory, but beneath the fury was purpose, the spark of understanding he'd glimpsed beside Goku. "You destroyed to preserve," Shallot said through the roar of battle. "But preservation without compassion is just vanity." Beerus's eyes narrowed. "Do you think your mortal sentiment makes you superior?" "No," Shallot roared. "It makes me real." He slammed his fist into Beerus's chest. For a heartbeat, the god of destruction staggered. The impact didn't draw blood. It drew memory. Images flashed across Beerus's mind. The old battlefield, the first Saiyan god standing before him, eyes full of defiance and hope.
The same words, the same fire, the same pain.
He stepped back, the faintest crack in his composure. You still sound like him. Shallot's aura surged brighter, flames of crimson and gold spiraling around him. Because I am him. Whis whispered under his breath. The echo of the first divine heart. Beerus exhaled slowly, something like emotion flickering in his eyes. You haven't learned, have you? Mortality isn't divinity's curse. It's its proof. The statement froze Shallot mid-motion. What? Beerus raised his hand, but there was no key, no destruction, only stillness. His voice softened. You think gods destroy because they forget life, but the truth is, we destroy because we remember too much of it. The words landed like thunder inside Shallot's soul. In that instant, their battle shifted. The blow slowed, the fury dimmed. Each strike that followed was less about dominance and more about recognition, a conversation through violence. Two eras speaking in the only language they shared. When at last their fists locked one final time, the energy between them cracked the heavens, but both held back. Neither sought to end the other. Shallot's knees trembled, Beerus's breathing deepened. For the first time in eons, God and mortal stood as equals, not in power, but in understanding. The divine silence that followed was almost holy. For a moment, all of existence seemed to hover in suspension, as if the cosmos itself feared to exhale. Two auras, violet and crimson gold, spiraled together in perfect opposition. Not chaos, not fury, balance. Whis lowered his staff, gaze softening as he whispered to the air. So even gods can remember what it means to be alive. Beerus and Shallot broke apart, their forms outlined against a fractured light of the horizon. Both breathed hard, though neither looked away. Shallot wiped the blood from his lip, his voice now quieter. You speak of remembering, yet your hands have erased more life than any mortal could count. Beerus's expression shifted, a faint, bitter smile, the kind only ancient beings could wear. Yes, and that is why I remember. Every world, every soul, every scream. A god's curse is not forgetting, it's never being allowed to. Shallot stared at him, his divine aura flickering. Then why continue? Why destroy? Beerus turned his gaze to the sky, where fragments of galaxies shimmered faintly in the distant void. Because someone must. Creation stagnates without destruction. That is the law the Omni King laid down, and the burden I accepted. But it doesn't mean I feel nothing. He paused, eyes narrowing. You think gods don't feel pain, Shallot? You think immortality means apathy? You have no idea how heavy eternity becomes when everything you love withers beneath your watch.
For the first time, Shallot's anger faltered. He saw it then, not arrogance, not cruelty, but weariness. The weight of divinity, the cost of surviving too long. You, he murmured, you carry sorrow like a weapon. Beerus chuckled softly. And you carry guilt like armor. They stood in silence for a while. Two gods of opposite fates, bound by the same truth. Divinity was never freedom. It was the slow suffocation of meaning. Whis approached gently, his tone as calm as the breeze. If I may interrupt this rather poetic exchange, he said, I believe the universe itself has begun to heal from your clash. But balance is fragile, my lords. The void Azra left behind still festers. It hungers. Beerus frowned, asu. The devourer of light? He was just a fragment? Whis nodded. Indeed, a shard of resentment made manifest, but something larger stirred beneath his birth, a consciousness drawn to that rage. Shallot's eyes hardened. Something larger? Whis said softly,
An echo older than you, older even than the first Saiyan flame, a being who thrives on imbalance itself. Beerus's tail twitched. You mean... Yes, Whis replied. Entropy, the original void, the remnant of the nothingness that existed before the first universe was spoken into being. A hush fell across the divine world. The air grew cold. Beerus's voice lost its usual arrogance. That thing shouldn't be capable of awareness. It was sealed before time began. Whis looked toward SHALLOT, until he appeared. The implication stuck hard. SHALLOT took a step back, breath catching. My resurrection awakened it. Whis nodded, perhaps not intentionally, but your key, born from the earliest godly spark, resonated with the original energy of creation. And where creation shines again, Beerus finished the sentence, voice grim. Destruction follows. SHALLOT turned away, fists trembling. So my resurrection cursed the universe. Whis smiled faintly, but there was sorrow behind it. No, my dear Saiyan, you reminded it to live, and life always draws the attention of death.
Beerus exhaled through his nose, eyes narrowing. Then we'll do what gods were made to do. Maintain balance. SHALLOT looked at him sharply. We? You mean you'll let me help? Beerus smirked. Don't flatter yourself. You caused this. You'll clean it up. A faint, wry grin tugged at SHALLOT's mouth. Fair enough. Whis closed his eyes, staff glowing faintly, as constellations began to swirl above them. I will take you both to the heart of the entropy rift, but be warned, beyond that point, time has no meaning. Mortals forget themselves. Even gods lose form. SHALLOT stood tall, golden light coiling around him. Then I'll remember for both of us. Beerus's aura flickered violet. You talk too much. Whis smiled faintly. Then let silence be your teacher. He tapped his staff. The world split open. Light bled into nothingness. The fabric of reality folded like glass under divine pressure. And then, silence. They stood upon a plane where color itself was dying, a realm of collapsing stars and whispering ghosts, the place between creation and void. SHALLOT felt it immediately, the pulse of something vast, ancient, and alive. It was not evil. It was not good. It was hunger, pure, endless hunger for balance, for stillness, for rest. And beneath that vast shadow, SHALLOT felt small again. Not a god, not a savior, just a spark clinging to the edge of eternity. Beerus looked into the abyss and whispered, So the first chaos awakes. The void whispered back, not with words, but with intent. All things end where they began. Whis' staff trembled in his hands. It knows us.
SHALLOT closed his eyes, the golden flame flickering low. Then it knows what we must do. Beerus turned toward him, expression unreadable. You can't destroy what predates destruction. SHALLOT smiled, tired but unwavering. Maybe not, but I can remind it why creation fought to exist. Whis raised his staff. Then the final movement begins. The abyss opened wider. Light and darkness collided, and as they stepped forward, the cosmos shivered like a living thing remembering its first breath. There was no sound, only the slow heartbeat of the void. Light and shadow twisted together, forming currents of colorless energy that bent time like ripples in glass. It was not space. It was not existence. It was the breath between creation and erasure. In that breath, SHALLOT floated, a single flame in an ocean of nothing. His aura flickered, gold bleeding into crimson, then into white. The divine energy within him pulsed unsteadily, reacting to the ancient hunger surrounding him.
Whis hovered nearby, their forms blurred, barely defined against the storm. Here, even gods were ghosts. Wiss's voice was faint, like a memory speaking across centuries. Careful, this is the origin point, the heart of all entropy. One wrong thought, and you will dissolve into concept. Beerus smirked, despite the weight pressing down upon them. But even he couldn't hide the strain in his voice. The air, if it could be called that, thickened around them, pressing against divine key, trying to erase definition, to smooth everything into silence. The void whispered, not in sound, but in feeling. Rest. Surrender. Become still. SHALLOT's heart ached. For the first time, he felt how seductive the nothingness truly was, how peaceful. No pain, no loss, no rage, only quiet. He closed his eyes, and for a moment he saw it, his old world, the Saiyan cities beneath the twin suns, the children who once called his name, the warriors who died beside him, the light that Beerus had taken and the guilt he had carried ever since. He heard Azra's fading voice echoing from memory. You cannot fight the void. You are part of it. And perhaps, he thought, that was true. But then he remembered Goku. The smile that came not from ignorance, but from faith. The will to move forward, not to win, but to live.
He opened his eyes again. No, he whispered, I am not nothing. I am memory. The void reacted, the black currents rippling violently, as though irritated by resistance. Beerus's voice thundered across the emptiness. You'll only provoke it. Good, SHALLOT replied. Maybe it's time someone did. His aura ignited, crimson first, then gold, then a radiant white so pure it bent the shadow away. The flames of godhood fused with mortal resolve. His body no longer burned with rage, it shimmered with remembrance. Whis gasped. He's stabilizing divine entropy. He's merging with it. Beerus clenched his fists, his own energy flaring violet to counterbalance the pull. He'll destroy himself. But SHALLOT didn't answer. He drifted forward, eyes locked on the swirling heart of darkness before him, the singularity of uncreation. From within its depths came a shape, not monstrous, not divine, but infinite. It was the echo of every universe ever erased, the sum of forgotten souls, the voice that spoke from the beginning. You cannot defy your source. You came from me, and to me you shall return. SHALLOT's answer was soft, but it shook eternity. Then remember me. He raised his hands, palms open, and for a moment his energy ceased to fight. It harmonized. The void's hunger met his light, and instead of destroying each other, they began to blend, creation and destruction, rage and peace, memory and release. Wiss's staff glowed violently, recording what no angel had ever seen, the birth of equilibrium. Beerus watched, speechless. For the first time since his own ascension, he saw something beyond his comprehension. Whis, he murmured, what is he becoming? Wiss's voice was reverent. Not a god, not a mortal, something new, the first to choose balance instead of dominance. The void screamed, it recoiled, folding into itself, unable to consume the flame that neither fought nor fled. SHALLOT's aura expanded, reaching out through the cosmos like dawn breaking through eternal night. And within that light, he saw everything, every universe, every life, every god and mortal alike, connected through threads of shared will, each one a spark, refusing to die. He smiled faintly, the exhaustion in his face melting into peace. So that's what we were meant to protect, he whispered. Not existence, but the will to exist. His body began to dissolve, not in pain, but in radiance. His energy scattered like petals in a solar wind. The golden light that had once been his key now pulsed across galaxies, infusing reality itself with quiet warmth. Beerus stepped forward, a flicker of disbelief softening his tone. He's giving himself to it. Wiz nodded slowly. He's becoming the balance the gods could never achieve. The last of SHALLOT's form turned to flame. His voice echoed through the void, clear and calm. Tell Goku, the first flame remembers him. And then, silence. The void stopped moving. Entropy stilled. The darkness sighed, not in defeat, but in rest. And from that rest, new stars began to form. Far away, on a quiet world bathed in morning light, Goku woke suddenly from meditation. He looked at his hands, sensing something radiant, familiar and ancient flowing through him. Wiz and Beerus appeared beside him, their usual poise tinged with something unspoken. "What was that?" Goku asked softly. Beerus turned his gaze toward the rising sun. A fool who thought he could defy destiny, and did. Wiz smiled faintly. The first god, reborn as memory. Goku closed his eyes, feeling a warmth deep in his chest, a key unlike any other. It glowed softly, comforting, eternal. Thanks, SHALLOT. Above him, the dawn shimmered gold and crimson, two colors intertwined. The cosmos was quiet again, but somewhere in that silence, a whisper echoed through every heartbeat, mortal and divine alike. The flame does not fade, it becomes the light. The dawn came softly, as if the universe itself wished not to disturb the peace it had just earned. The stars, once trembling under the weight of divine conflict, now shimmered with gentle purpose, each one a quiet ember of the flame SHALLOT had left behind. Across galaxies, mortals awoke unaware that the breath they drew, the light that warmed their skies, was born from the will of a Saiyan who refused to vanish. On Beerus's world, the air carried an unfamiliar stillness. Even the trees seemed to sway in reverence. Whis stood upon the marble terrace, gazing at the horizon where the divine aura had once torn reality apart. His expression was serene, but in his eyes lingered something rare, melancholy. "He has done what even angels could not," he murmured. "He remembered the purpose of creation and gave it back to itself." Behind him, Beerus sat cross-legged upon a boulder, silent, uncharacteristically thoughtful. The violet hue of his aura was dim, subdued, not weakened, but reflective. "He didn't fight me," the god said quietly. "He didn't even hate me at the end. That's what unsettles me." Whis smiled faintly. "Because forgiveness, my lord, is power even destruction cannot grasp." Beerus exhaled, gaze fixed on the endless sky. "Forgiveness, huh? It feels heavier than annihilation." Whis chuckled softly. "Perhaps that is why mortals are so fascinating. They can bear what gods cannot." Elsewhere, on Earth, Goku and Vegeta sparred under the shade of a broken mountain. Their movements were slower, almost meditative. For once, Goku's grin was absent. His strikes carried the rhythm of remembrance rather than excitement. When they paused, Vegeta wiped the sweat from his brow, frowning. "You're holding back, Kakarot. That's not like you."
Goku looked toward the sky, that infinite expanse of color he could never quite stop staring at. He said, "I'm not holding back. I'm listening." Vegeta raised a brow. Listening to what? Goku's hand glowed faintly, a flicker of red-gold light coiling around his fingers. Him. The two Saiyans stood in silence, the wind whispering through the grass. In that moment, Vegeta felt it too, the faint pulse of something divine, something ancient, echoing inside his chest. Goku said, "The first flame. It's in all of us now." Vegeta crossed his arms, smirking faintly to hide the emotion stirring beneath. Trust a dead Saiyan to find a way to annoy me, even after merging with the cosmos.
But his smirk faltered when he looked at Goku. The calm in his rival's eyes, that light, it was different. "Still," Vegeta said, more quietly, "if he could face the void and not lose himself, then maybe we're not so cursed after all." Goku grinned again, but soft at this time. Maybe being a Saiyan isn't about fighting stronger enemies. Maybe it's about finding the courage to keep shining, no matter what. Vegeta snorted. Don't get poetic on me. But his eyes followed the same sunrise. Across the cosmos, the effects of SHALLOT's final act rippled like gentle waves. In distant universes, forgotten by time, faint sparks reignited. Fragments of worlds once erased now shimmered at the edges of reality, restored not by wish, but by resonance. Life returned quietly, humble and bright. Even Zeno, high above the multiverse, tilted his head curiously as he watched tiny galaxies flicker back into existence. "Pretty lights," he said, smiling, not knowing he was witnessing the echo of a mortal's mercy. In the place beyond creation, where time no longer flowed but hummed softly, a flame drifted alone. It was not SHALLOT, and yet it was him. Memory made luminous, consciousness woven from purpose. He saw the universes spin again. He felt every heartbeat, every cry, every laugh, not as burdens, but as notes in the endless song of being. So this is eternity, he thought, not ruling it, remembering it. The light that was him pulsed gently, and with each pulse, stars ignited somewhere far away. Every spark became a whisper carried by the winds of existence, a message simple and eternal. You are not small. You are the continuation of everything that refused to fade. In that truth, the flame found peace. Not silence, not slumber. Peace, the harmony of motion and stillness, will and surrender. Whis looked up from Beerus's world, sensing that same whisper pass through him. His lips curved into a soft smile. "He's not gone, my lord." Beerus closed his eyes. "I know." He opened his palm. A faint flicker of gold danced there for a heartbeat before fading. He left his will in all living things. A nuisance, but a beautiful one. Whis inclined his head. The gods will remember him differently, but the universe, he gestured towards the horizon, where newborn stars blinked like eyes opening. The universe will simply live because of him. Beerus gave a quiet, amused snort. "Tuh, I suppose that's one way to win against the god of destruction, by making him part of your story." Whis smiled. "Indeed, he did not defeat you, my lord. He transformed you." Beerus said nothing, but when he looked at the stars, his expression softened, just enough for Whis to notice. And somewhere, beyond gods, angels, and the measure of time, the flame that was once SHALLOT flickered once more, a final pulse of warmth that spread across existence like a sigh. Planets turned, life moved on, science trained, gods dreamed, and in every act of courage, every rise after defeat, every spark that refused to be swallowed by despair, the universe quietly spoke his name. SHALLOT, the first flame, the eternal memory, the god who learned what it meant to be human, and in doing so, taught the cosmos to live again. The stars burned quietly, as if remembering his will.